I don't know if you guys have noticed, but I'm from the UK, specifically this part. Living in the UK at the moment is certainly interesting. To those of you who live under a rock, we just had a general election where, once again, the Conservatives won, and as a result, we have officially withdrawn from the European Union. 4 years ago, this statement would have had you laughed out the room, yet it is our current political situation. How did this happen? Why did half the country decide it wanted to leave the EU, despite it practically being a non-issue before 2016? The answer lies within Britain itself, and more specifically, how divided Britain has become. Before I get started, it's time to define a word that gets thrown about quite a bit recently: polarization. Polarization is often used as another word for divided or division in general. However, this isn't always the case. Polarization manifests in two ways. The first one is issue polarization. This is generally where people become divided on key policy issues. A great example of this is healthcare in the good old US of A, where the healthcare debate is practically a blood sport. The second type of polarization is affective polarization. This is where people segregate themselves from the opposition, regardless of opinion on policy. This is generally the type of polarization we are facing in the UK at the moment, and is mostly the focus of this video. Now let's look at these definitions in the context of the UK at the moment. The number of people who strongly identify with a political party has actually significantly declined. However, the number of people who identify with their side of Brexit has massively increased. To put some numbers to these claims, only 9% of the UK electorate actually identify with a political party, whereas 44% of people strongly identify with their side of Brexit. Moving on, people on both sides of the Brexit debate strongly dislike each other, yet don't necessarily disagree on salient issues. A salient issue is just another way of saying an issue that is key or important at the moment. This is a key example of affective polarization at work. Despite being massively divided over Brexit, the UK's people generally agree on most of the important issues and policies. 7 out of 10 people in the UK still back the NHS as a model for healthcare. Most people agree that climate change is real and that it's a real threat to them. Even immigration, which is arguably the issue that kicked off the whole Brexit debate, isn't that polarised anymore, with more and more people agreeing that immigration to the UK is a positive event. Despite all this common ground, people are still massively divided over Brexit. In this current political landscape, parties are struggling to adapt to this fluid voter base, with practically no loyalty to any party. This was highlighted in 2019 when Labour failed to understand how divisive Brexit was and still is, resulting in their lukewarm Remainish stance, which ultimately may have cost them the election. While Labour's policies are popular when people are asked about them, the effective polarisation over Brexit simply overshadowed the election. Even now we have left the Union, Europe and our relationship with it is likely to remain the salient issue, and may even replace key issues such as the state of the NHS in the public discourse. This division and unease at such a key time in our history will pose a massive challenge for the whole of the UK, and I expect that Mr Johnson may have a hard time of it in the coming years. However, there are still some things that unite us. As I mentioned before, people's opinions on healthcare and immigration are converging, and even social issues such as the general attitude towards the LGBTQ community are generally positive across Brexit identities. Whatever way you look at it, you can't avoid that Britain is a divided nation. We aren't just divided over Brexit. It seems like Brexit has simply crystallised the broader social and economic divides across Britain. It is no secret that Britain is not an equal nation. The wealth inequality between the North and the South still remains an important issue, with the South East having over double the amount of household wealth when compared to the North West. And Wales, well, Wales is being woefully left behind in both household wealth and average income. It's no surprise that when you take a map of wealth and compare it to the places that voted leave, they line up. Brexit has and always will be just another manifestation of the social and economic inequalities that divide the UK, and until something is done to tackle this inequality, it will just divide us further and further. Current ideas to bridge this inequality include the construction of HS2, which is a good idea and should go ahead. However, further regeneration schemes should be implemented to supplement an increase in infrastructure. However it's done doesn't particularly matter. What does matter is that the nation become more equal. The UK is one of the most unequal Western countries in the world, only marginally ahead of the US and well behind our contemporaries in Europe, with nations like Denmark, Belgium and Germany beating us by significant margins. Mr Johnson has promised to level up the more deprived areas of the UK, whatever that means. I for one will hold Boris to this statement, as the division that grips this country needs to be addressed, and it needs to be addressed at its root cause: income inequality and the inequality between the various regions of the UK. If this does not manifest, I fear the kingdom may not stay united much longer. Thank you for watching till the end, my guys. If you wish to fact check any of my outrageous statements or claims in the video, all my sources are in the description. Most of this video came out of a report published in 2019 by King's College London, so there's a good place to start. With that out the way, time to shamelessly plug my other content. If you like this other video, then check out the ones on screen now. They're alright, I guess. Other than that, follow me on Twitter for updates and stuff, and I'll see you in the next video.